Hello there, you're welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Obiageli Ugoke. We'll begin with the headlines. President Buhari receives in audience former APC national chairman, insists governorship election in Edo State must be devoid of violence. Bayelsa State governorship election petition tribunal nullifies election of Duyo Diri as governor of Bayelsa State. Plus, as more than 773,000 persons die from coronavirus globally, mid-stage study of COVID-19 vaccine begins in South Africa. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll begin with political stories. President Muhammadu Buhari is insisting that the forthcoming governorship election in Edo State must not only be free and fair, but also devoid of violence. This was while granting audience to the former national chairman of the APC and member of the party's campaign council for the election, Adams Oshomole. State House correspondent Adam Musambo has the details.
A loyal member of the All Progressive Congress, and I will always do everything I can to support the growth and development of the party, and of course my absolute loyalty to the president as a person and to the government that he leads.
This is the first formal engagement between President Muhammadu Buhari and Mr. Adams Oshomole since his removal as chairman of the governing party on 25th of June this year. Discussions at the closed-door meeting, also attended by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, centered on the ongoing campaigns ahead of the forthcoming Edo governorship election.
The campaigns are going well.
Triumph in the end. The governor noted that this is a court of first instance and the party has a right of appeal even up to the Supreme Court. The governor urged members of the People's Democratic Party and his supporters not to panic but remain calm and law-abiding. And now we have in the studio Romy Mom, a legal practitioner, to speak more on the election tribunal's annulment of the Bayelsa governorship election. Mr. Mom, glad to have you in our studio.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
What is your take on the nullification of the election by the Bayelsa governorship election petition tribunal?
Well, I think first and foremost, the court's idea to rule based on extant laws and regulations concerning our elections, and if the court has found as a fact that there was unlawful exclusion of a candidate and a party for that matter, it kind of restricts the choice of the electorate. The electorate is supposed to have the benefit of looking at every candidate that presents himself or herself and every party that is part of the elections. As when you shortchange the electorate as has been founded by the court, if that is what it is, then it's a natural and a consequential order of nullifying that election so that the electorate can have the benefit of looking at all the parties and all the candidates that are eligible for these elections, and from that decide on which candidate they would want to, govern them. Is there a right to be governed by who you want to? It's an extension of our rights as calculated in the Constitution and the electoral laws of this country.
Now, is it lawful for a political party to be excluded in an election?
No, certainly not, especially if that political party abides by the Electoral Act and the Constitution. Now, in this instance, the political party is saying, even though the initial candidate was ruled or was said not to be eligible via Section 177 of the Constitution because he wasn't of the age, they had substituted or had the ample chance to substitute a candidate. Their allegation again is that INEC did not take this into consideration and outrightly ruled them out of the contest. Now, if that is the case, as the court has found, by Section 33, 34, and 35 read collectively of the 2010 Electoral Act as amended, then it meant that they were unlawfully excluded. And if that is the case, then it is wrong, and the consequential order is the order for a new elections. But then again, we need to also look at what INEC is saying. INEC is saying that was not the case. And that was the minority decision of the chairman of the tribunal. He found as a fact that what happened could be said to be a pre-election matter, in which case it wasn't a matter for the tribunal, being that he was disqualified based on eligibility and not on exclusion. So it depends on what side of the coin you're looking at. But again, as we say, a judgment that is still standing and not yet overturned, then again, that's what it is. It's what the law is for now.
In all of this, where lies the right of the appeal?
Well, the court again had given the parties the right to appeal within the stipulated period. Appeal is a right. It's both constitutional and human because it goes down to fair hearing. If you say you are not satisfied, then you have the right to explore all the ambits of taking it to the higher quarters as the law permits. In this case, the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, as the governor has rightly said he wants to take it up to. I would think that it's important to appeal for two reasons. One, our jurisprudence will be expanded much more in decisions such as this, in looking at it going forward. And secondly, which is most important to me, and I think to all persons who are friends of the electoral space in Nigeria, the right of the voter, the citizen, will come to bear. All this is done in ensuring that the voice of the citizens is heard. It's not for us to, obfuscate that voice because of, things like technicalities and saying let's exclude a candidate that is validly put forward by a political party.
Thank you very much for coming on the news, Mr. Mon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That was Mr. Rami Mam, a legal practitioner, speaking on Bayelsa governorship election. Away from that, as a way of accommodating new correctional measures introduced into the nation's criminal justice system, new sentencing guidelines are being put together by the Federal Ministry of Justice and the Presidential Committee on Decongestion and Reform of Correctional Centers. Justice Minister Abubakar Malami says the new guidelines will consolidate both custodial and non-custodial provisions. Femi Okeu reports.
Nigerian courts have never been left unguided as to how to sentence offenders in our nation's criminal justice system. Whether these sentencing are uniformly applied or not is another issue entirely. But while this issue is being battled with, there are other laws emerging that also need equal sentencing guidelines, such as the Correctional Services Act of Nigeria, which just emerged last year. In addition to the custodial measures the courts have been used to, there are now non-custodial measures which the Presidential Committee on Correctional Service Reform has been working on. For every federal government intervention in our justice system, the FCT High Court is the first platform. So, the new sentencing guidelines is expected to come along with a practice direction by the Chief Judge of the FCT High Court, Justice Ishak Bello.
Some of the witnesses will be extant sentencing guidelines you have been using. Ambiguity on whether the imposition of non-custodial sentence is an alternative to imprisonment or additional to custodial sentence.
To help scrutinize, review, and ratify the guidelines, a virtual interactive session was held for all the organizations involved, where the Attorney General of the Federation spoke of the need to avoid disparity in sentencing from one judicial officer to the other.
The objective of the proposed consolidated sentencing guidelines are as follows. Set out the requirements and procedure for imposing custodial and non-custodial sentences for the purpose of preventing abuse and ensuring reasonable uniformity and fairness in the imposition of sentences.
It is hoped that the consolidated sentencing guideline will be ready by September. In Abuja, Femi Okeowu, NTA News.
Turning now to Nigerian traders' situation in Ghana. Nigeria must seek an ECOWAS solution to the recurring harassment of Nigerian traders in Ghana. Minister of Foreign Affairs Jeffrey Onyema, at a meeting with representatives of the Nigerian traders in Ghana, says the ECOWAS move will help resolve areas where the Ghanaian Trade Codes is in conflict with relevant ECOWAS protocol. Calvin Ewonuare reports.
The minister is worried that after the intervention in 2018, the issue has reoccurred, saying even though member countries reserve the right to regulate business processes in their respective countries, such regulations should not outrightly contravene the relevant ECOWAS protocols. He warned that the principle of reciprocity may not be ruled out if efforts to nip the problem in the bud fails.
First steps we want to take is to be sure about all the facts, to have all the facts before we act. So this will entail hearing from the Ghanaian government, the Minister of Trade. Our Minister of Trade is going to engage with his counterpart. We have summoned the Ghanaian High Commissioner, who has given us information. We have the intention of recalling our charge d'affaires in Ghana for consultations.
For the Nigerian traders, a timely intervention is imperative before the crisis gets out of hands, as more Nigerian shops in other regions outside Accra are being targeted by the Ghanaian task force.
We do believe that the GIPC Act, which is the Ghana Investment Promotion Act, which bars non-Ghanaian, according to the local law, from engaging into retail trading, which as at 1994 was paid at 300,000 United States dollars for such person willing to, go into such trade to invest such amount in equity or in cash, which was later reviewed to 1 million United States dollars. It is shocking that in Ghana now, Nigerians in Ghana are not given such equal opportunity under the same protocol of ECOWAS, and this is very instructive for our government.
At the moment, the minister assured the traders of the commitment of the Ghanaian government to halt the closing of Nigerian shops to allow for consultations. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. Stay tuned for more stories after the break.
We keep it moving. We going straight to the top. Like it or not, we tell them haters. This is war. Slowing down and making a stop. We waiting to drop. Do us a favor.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Going straight to the top. Like it or not, we tell them haters.
Have to say this. I'm the boss.
Never slowing down and making a stop. We waiting to drop. Do us a favor. We keep it moving.
Thanks for staying with us. The mandate of transforming Nigeria as one of the fastest growing digital economy and minimizing security challenges is on course. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, re-echoed this at the inauguration of the National Information Technology Development Agency headquarters and other projects geared towards actualizing the mandate. Harman Jabani reports.
The new corporate headquarters, new logo, new mission, vision, and core value translates to new and more responsibility to the National Information Technology Development Agency in line with the digital economy policy and strategy for a digital Nigeria. The new building houses the Integrated Computer Emergency Response and Readiness Center to enhance national cybersecurity, digital multimedia studio with online digital skills and literacy capacity building, as well as digital conference room for remote collaboration.
It's very important for the country to know that our SAT has been upgraded, and we will continue to monitor potential attacks on our country and notify institutions. Computer emergency response and readiness team is key to our cybersecurity.
When you are building a digital country, everyone needs to be digitally literate. So we are going to embark on massive training for our citizens, online trainings. We have started with the NTA Academy. So far we have more than 24,000 Nigerians.
The ministry and the agencies under it were galvanized.
Experts in the communication industry commended the rebranding of the digital economy by the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy and his parastatals, which has in a short term started yielding results. It is believed that with the new policy by the 19-year-old agency towards the implementation of national ICT policy, it will be a game changer in Nigeria's culture mindset and successful implementation of the national digital economy policy. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
And on PTR briefing, the Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika at the Presidential Task Force briefing announced the resumption of international flights from the 29th of August 2020, beginning with Lagos and Abuja airports. He said there will be 4 flights into Lagos and Abuja airports on a daily basis with all COVID-19 safety protocols in place. Chairman of the task force, Boss Mustafa, clarifies that samples of returnees are only collected at designated NCDC centers and not at the airports.
It is disturbing to realize that while a good number of Nigerians are sharing their experiences with the coronavirus and encouraging others to take responsibility, some very few Nigerians are bent on spreading misleading information. Let us remember, therefore, that this war can only be won when we individually and collectively take responsibility so that we can return to a life devoid of this pandemic.
Nigeria continues to monitor new opportunities and developments in other countries, including new technology like saliva-based COVID-19 test that is under development. The Federal Ministry of Health is also working with agencies and partnering with state governments to serve rural areas by making sure that we maintain routine services and immunization. And we're also taking COVID-19 response to LGAs with sample collection, holding rooms, oxygen treatment centers, etc.
And on our COVID-19 updates, mid-stage study of COVID-19 vaccine begins in South Africa as more than 773,000 people die from the disease globally, according to the Worldometer coronavirus dashboard. Here is Uche Ugochukwu with stories on the pandemic.
839,458 patients have recovered from coronavirus infections in Africa, out of the 1,124,018 positive cases indicated by the continent's Center for Disease Control. And with the new 298 cases of COVID-19 confirmed by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the total number of positive cases in the country now stands at 49,068. 36,497 are discharged, while 975 died. In a search for coronavirus treatment, a U.S. drug developer said it is starting a mid-stage study of its experimental COVID-19 vaccine in South Africa as the country experiences a surge in coronavirus cases. The Phase 2B trial study of NVX-CoV2373 will be conducted on about 2,665 healthy adults. Similarly, Ireland's chief scientific advisor says local measures may have to be considered in the northern area of the country with high numbers of coronavirus cases. He said the 288 COVID-19 cases recorded by NIS Department of Health in the past week was of considerable concern. Meanwhile, South Korea has warned of a looming coronavirus crisis as new cases flight, including one linked to a church where more than 300 members of the congregation have been infected and hundreds more are reluctant to get tested. China has cheery news on Monday as the country reported no domestic cases for the first time in more than 1 month. China has a record of 84,849 total infections and 4,634 deaths. Now the world has 6,506,412 active cases of COVID-19 from the 21,881,403 total confirmed cases, as shown on the Worldometer coronavirus dashboard as of 6 p.m. local time, with 773,926 deaths. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Away from health matters, the long-awaited 2020 SSC examinations has commenced in schools in the Federal Capital Territory and across the country. Hadiza Godwin, who went round some schools, report that the examination commenced under strict COVID-19 protocol, with teachers, students, and examiners adhering to the social and physical distancing advisory.
Under strict COVID-19 protocols, students were checked before going into the examination halls for the 2020 Senior Secondary Certificate examinations. West Africa Examination Council Supervisor Nkiruka Amolu says this year's question papers are customized to enable proper identification of candidates.
You don't need to have a different answer sheet to a different question paper. Everything is customized now.
Okay. At about 10 a.m., the candidates had started slogging it out with the most dreaded subject, the general mathematics, which is the first paper on the 2020 SSC timetable. The candidates say they cannot be more prepared as all stakeholders have come together to ensure their success.
I've read all of this. It's normal. It's not hard. It's easy.
The normal wire questions. The school has prepared us for all this.
If you actually studied and listened in class and listened to what your teacher said, you hopefully pass this exam successfully.
Teachers, principals, and head of schools say the 2 weeks resumption gave them ample time to mentally prepare the students for the examinations.
The government has also provided everything needed for the takeoff.
We've been doing face-to-face classes and all that, and I sincerely believe that with the little that we've been able to do over the time, plus what we have been doing for the past 3 years, from SS1 to now, I think they should be able to do well.
All stakeholders are optimistic of a successful outing of the 2020 SSC amid COVID-19 pandemic, which almost altered the 2020 academic session. Hadiza Godwin Ebuni, NTA News.
On a sad note, President Muhammad Buhari has sent his condolences to the family of Major General Samaila Iliya, a distinguished military officer who served the country meritoriously before retirement. The president also commiserates with armed forces friends and associates of the officer who made his mark in various leadership roles in the army, thereby bringing glory to the country in peacekeeping missions in Rwanda, Lebanon, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. President Buhari prays that the Almighty God will receive the soul of the departed and comfort his family. And up next is sports updates.